Hi, my name is Travis Lindsay, and I am here for the Center for Entrepreneurship at Cal State Fullerton. And with me today, I have a couple of special guests, Jerry Conrey and Ricky Guerrero. Gentlemen, can you please introduce yourselves real quick?
Hi, my name is Ricky Guerrero. I'm currently a full-time student at CSUF with entrepreneurship as my concentration. And I'm also a full-time student at Fullerton College pursuing an associate's degree in automotive technology. I work part-time with CSUF Project Rebound as a peer navigator, helping formerly incarcerated individuals like myself reduce the recidivism rate through higher education. I'm the finance director for Sigma Upsilon Mu, a co-ed business fraternity that focuses on entrepreneurship skills, social involvement, and community events. In 2024, I had the experiences of studying abroad in Germany, going skydiving, and walking on fire. And I got to go backstage and take a picture with Tony Robbins himself. I wasn't always this focused and on such a positive life path. My journey towards obtaining a higher education degree has been filled with significant challenges. I was first incarcerated at 12 years old and tried as an adult at 17, spending a total of 22 years in California state prisons. My younger brother was tortured and killed in Mexico when he was 20 years old in 2007. My younger sister is spending 36 years in federal prison, both behind drugs, because of following in my footsteps. My mom got deported to Mexico over 15 years ago, and my dad followed her willingly. I have successfully represented myself during the criminal proceedings of pretrial, trial, and post-conviction appeals process. During this time, I struggled with guilt, drug addiction, homelessness, and financial hardship. However, because of my struggles, I have so many driving factors that give me the motivation to do my best every day. Financial success to bring my mom back to the US legally while she is still alive, help reduce the drug abuse in our communities to honor my brother's death, and help reduce my sister's struggle by helping her come home early, and help make our community safer by reducing recidivism.
Very powerful. Jerry, please introduce yourself.
I'm Jerry Conrey. I own Conrey Insurance Brokers and Risk Managers. I've been very involved with the Center for Entrepreneurship since basically its core beginning since '02. I've spent 25 or 30 semesters as a mentor in the classroom, teaching one of 6 classes along with a professor, bringing some sense of realism and tactics to a world of strategy and thought-provoking effort. Okay, like, it's one thing to hear what the philosophy behind something is. It's a whole nother thing to understand its impact in the real world and how you evolve it and make it more malleable. And as a mentor, I've been able to do that with student groups and help them, deliver a better deliverable, not only to the customer that the center would go out and recruit so that the students could have something to work on, but also on student projects where they've come up with an idea and they've presented it as an idea and then they presented it as a business plan. And I've been on both sides of that, and it's a lot of fun to do. Most recent though, Vicky and I fund the Conrey Insurance Brokers and Risk Managers Scholarship. We've given 25 of them out over the last 25 years, and Ricky Guerrero is the 2025 recipient of the $3,500 scholarship.
Very cool. Thank you both for introducing yourselves. I'm not going to introduce myself because my story is very boring in comparison to both of yours. But Jerry, first question to you. You've had your business for decades now, right? So
Yeah.
What keeps you passionate about your business?
My passion is driven by my sense of loyalty to customers and to their needs, and to the student in me that's constantly relearning and reliving what I have pulled together as a body of knowledge over a 38-year career. And it's exciting to see the application of things that go from philosophical to actual, and then to become the seasoned pro in the room, that's had the most experience, the most understanding, and then sharing that history with others. So I'm still passionate about it because I'm a nerd and I like risk and I like the management of it. And I'm paid handsomely to do what I do. And so I'm motivated there too. So it's an all the way around positive experience. And I think that I bring a lot more value to a transaction than what I'm actually paid. But then what I'm paid is quite adequate to fund a lifestyle that's good for me and my wife, and employs the 16 people that are part of our organization. And so that's what keeps me going.
Yeah, that is great, and I think that perfectly encapsulates something that you said in your introduction about melding the practical with the philosophical. It's
I,
that continuous effort to learn, right? And if you don't have both, you're not going to be able to learn and keep on growing as an entrepreneur, business person, or just as a person in general. Uh, Ricky, question to you. There's a lot of different subjects that you could learn. Why did you pick entrepreneurship?
So for me personally, I feel that entrepreneurship has been something that I had always had within myself. When I was in prison, I created opportunities for myself regularly throughout my stay there. So the prison hourly wage varies from 8 cents to 30 cents per hour. That's not nearly enough to buy yourself even your hygiene products. So what I did to offset or subsidize some of the money or whatever the cost, I ran gambling pools for all sports. So I kept a small 20% fee out of that. I sold alcohol, which gave me a 1,200% markup on the profit. I sold food, which only gave me an 80% small markup on the profit. And I sold packages for 50% profit markup. Um, so I'm getting out here. I was like, I'm not gonna let those skills go to waste. I'm not gonna go get a job for 8 cents an hour or the equivalent of it. I'm gonna apply everything that I've learned and create my own business out here, but legally this time. That's the goal.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't. I mean, yes, your story is different from many that we hear, but you were always trying to figure out ways to uh, build business basically from the get-go, and that's a very similar story to a lot of our entrepreneurship students. They'll be selling candy in school, or they'll be doing starting small little businesses before they actually join us. So that's a very similar story. And Jerry, I wasn't planning on asking this, but when you were growing up, did you have any businesses or were entrepreneurial at all?
Yep. And boy, do I see all the mistakes I made back then. But looking back, it was office cleaning, it was lawn mowing, it was any kind of service that I was capable of providing that would give me money to do my own thing without having to ask others. I just wanted the ability to fund my own life and lifestyle and wanted it from about 13 on. And it made me different. Some kids look at me like you're crazy. And here I was working during the summer, but I was making money. And then when things would come around during the fall, during regular classes in school, I had the money to do whatever the hell I wanted to, and they were begging and borrowing and stealing. And so, I avoided a lot of the lifestyle that Ricky is running away from now because I just found myself the right way to go to get what I wanted. Again, mentorship, exposure to the right things, having the right people in your life, all are things that I took for granted. And not knowingly, but today I look back and I see how blessed I was. And for Ricky, he struggled to find that, somebody that was going to throw him a rope and pull him to a safe place. And I'm glad to see that he recognizes that now and wants to help others so that they can have somebody to aspire to and look up to. And I just appreciate that about his story and what he's only shared with you a little bit, and already you should already be wanting to hear more. So this is about him, and so let's make it about him.
Right. Absolutely. And jumping off that, Ricky, I mean, your story is impressive. You're like a phoenix rising out of the ashes. You're doing a lot of great things. And before we started this interview, we had a chance to talk a little bit. You wake up at 4 a.m. in the morning, you go to the gym, you work out. Um, Tell us a little bit more about yourself right now and like what your goals are for the future.
Well, right now I'm focusing on finishing up my degree itself, but um, the goals for the future are pretty much I'm committed to launching a startup, and that's going to be a transportation business for people that are in with are incarcerated in prison, but for the families. So my thing is to eliminate the transportation barriers that disproportionately affect the and lower income and minorities. I know myself what it was because I didn't see my parents for like over 20 years because I was in prison. They couldn't go visit me. It was just too expensive. I was in Crescent City. The travel expenses and everything that came associated with it was just real hard. So my goal now is to create some type of actually it would be a public benefit corporation to help low income communities visit their families and reestablish that foster that relationship, and by doing that reduce the recidivism and create safer communities. That's my goal right now.
Yeah, so I've looked into it a little bit, but a lot of prisons, they're at least a couple hours away, right? And it costs, a couple $100 to go out to see somebody, and you're not able to see them for very long, and that just kind of exacerbates the situation because having that support group really helps to lower recidivism rates, right?
Right. Actually, for me myself, what did it for me when I was in so I went to prison when I was 17 years old. I got tried as an adult. When I got out, the first time I went back to prison twice after that. When I went back to prison was one of the reasons was I didn't get visits. I feel alienated when I got out. It felt awkward out here. It wasn't like I was going home. It was like I was going to a strange land out here. Um, and that happened twice. So this last time around, what changed was my girlfriend started visiting me every week. And those visits, those regular visits made a big difference. So when I got out, I I realized that my mentality wasn't the same no more. My way of thinking wasn't the same. I felt like I belong. I felt a sense of community. I felt like it was more as opposed as to before when I felt isolated and alienated. So now I want to give that back to the people that are in there so that when they do get out, they don't have to go back to freaking committing crimes or doing anything that's gonna be destructive.
Yeah, I mean, having that community, that support group, the family, it in and of itself almost provides a new higher purpose for your life. Is that more or less what you've seen?
Yeah, for the most part, yeah. Because now it's like my whole life has literally did a 360. I I have mentors now. I have mentors that I meet with regularly that help me keep my life on track. Just my whole schedule, the way it's programmed now, there is no way I'm going back to jail. You know what I mean? Like there's no room for it. I keep myself occupied in a positive direction. If I'm not doing something that's school related, it's something that's work related. If I'm not doing that, I'm gonna go to last semester I got to study abroad in Germany. This semester I'll get to study abroad in Italy. You know what I mean? These are things that I never in a million years would have pictured were gonna happen. So
Tell us a little bit about your time in Germany.
when I went to Germany, I went with the community college. So I got to go to BMW, the manufacturing companies, Audi. I got to go to the bikes, the motorcycle bikes for BMW as well, Volkswagen. Um, it was interesting. It was a culture shock for me. It was like you have to remember when I was 17, I was trying as an adult. I was in the LA County Jail in the juvenile module in a section that was considered the dungeons. So you spend 23 hours and 45 minutes of a day in there. You just came out for showers.
Oh,
So at 17, that's what I did, you know? So to escape from my reality at the time, I read a lot of books. So I read books from Germany. I read books from everywhere, you know, and so getting to go and experience some of this stuff was just amazing. It was like it feels surreal. It still does to this day. Um, Knowing that I'm going to Italy this summer right now, on July the 8th, that feels surreal too. It's like it's happening, but it's like, is this like, it feels like a out of body experience. Like, damn, this is happening to me, you know, like this is happens to other people in the books, you know, they get to do this cool stuff. So yeah, it was
Do you remember one or two of the books that you read that have stayed with you?
oh my God, I read freaking Aristotle on politics. I read a lot of philosophy books. I read freaking Socrates. I read freaking the one that sticks with me the most is Friedrich Nietzsche. Beyond Good and Evil.
Okay.
That guy sticks. That guy, Niccolo Machiavelli. He was pretty good. The Prince. I read so many books. It was those are the main ones that stick with me for the most part. But oh, and the one that I love the most, I think I would say, is the Dalai Lama, and that would be the pretty much just do what you do, because at the end we're all gonna look the same in our grave. That was the whole concept of the thing in the end. And I was like, wow, you know, it was so powerful and impactful for me. So
Look, our time on this earth is limited,
it is.
right? So you're on a path now in which positivity, education, collective experience, it's giving you the opportunities, the doors that are being opened for you right now is because of the doors that have closed. So it's exciting to see you embrace the opportunity to learn more. But you started it yourself at 17 in those 23-hour and 45-minute. Instead of choosing to do one thing, you chose to read and to educate yourself and to lift yourself out of your circumstances. And that is the difference between you and others. And unfortunately, it happened too early in your life. So recidivism was something you had to experience so that you could recognize that this is not a life for you and that you weren't going to do it again. And that's what is so compelling about, the application that you had put in for your scholarship. We had, I don't know, 18, 20 applicants. Some had better GPAs than you. Some had entirely different stories than yours, all of them compelling. But what really struck us was Vicky and I, when we read these different submissions, was the impression that you were making on your professors around you, seeing you own your history and then use it as a strength to evolve and to pivot. And you're quick. I mean, I said, okay, hi, Ricky, tell us a little about yourself. You went into a very long and deep diatribe on basically you explaining you, and that this path that you're on today was not the most direct and was filled with a lot of jagged edges. And those kinds of things are unusual. And so it does compel people to listen a little longer. It does give them an opportunity to emote, because they can feel for what you have basically risen above, and most don't. So that's you. And so I hope you take this entrepreneurship and that you will evolve it into the very thing that you're talking about. What is entrepreneurship? It's somebody who recognizes a missing service or skill or process and draws the straightest line as to how to close that gap, and then learns how to commercialize it so that they can earn a living from it. And you're well on your path because you already see something that needs to be fixed and you have ideas on how to fix it. But now you're finally going to be in a place to actually leverage by talking to people about the experience and then helping them recognize the need to do what it is that you're recommending and proposing and suggesting. And so I'm excited about the future because I think that those are the things that you're going to take out of this and go with. Travis, Vicky and I are heavily committed to the center, and we want to see things evolve even beyond where they are today. We want to see the center become more relevant. To me, it feels a little dated, like that we're still doing things the way we were doing them in the early 2000s, and we need to evolve to make sure that the offerings meet the needs of the student today. And when I look and see a lack of the student fraternity that used to be a part of it, the master's program that used to be a part of it, I'm concerned about the Center for Entrepreneurship. But then I see the impact it has on somebody like Ricky. And it gives me a whole new level of hope and a whole new level of confidence that we're on the right path. And we have a new director coming in, and I'm excited about the direction that he will take it to the next level. And we need him to focus both internally and externally, where JJ's focus was external. But we need to focus on the internal too, because we need to evolve the programs. And I'm excited about the future. And if we continue to find students like Ricky who have a compelling story and then pivot to putting all of this negativity into a positive focus that can evolve to a something that will generate a living, I want to help bridge those gaps quicker for people like that. That's why I'm involved. That's the reason. That's my compelling reason to throw money at the problem and also to invest time. And time is more valuable than my money. So for me to put the time into the program means that I've chosen it over others, and it's important to me to see it successful and to pick itself up from its own situation and say, okay, it's not enough. It's not enough that we're here. We want more. And so the center has to become the center. I want that big giant okay? There's many centers associated with the School of Business. They don't do enough collaboration. There's so many opportunities for them to collaborate and to expand their abilities. And I hope that the future of I think the future is bright when you look at students like Ricky and how this program is turning his life around, and he's acknowledging it, and he's giving credit to it. So these are the people that need to be out front and talking about this program and its impact so that others will join suit. Because we don't have enough people in the program today like we used to. And I think it's because we need this kind of injection, this passion, this kind of circumstance. It's really, 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 really compelling.
No, I agree. And, fortunately, we do have people like yourself who are in our community, who are helping, who are pushing things forward, because you're right. It really isn't ever enough. And there's more that we can be doing and should be doing. Ricky, on that point, do you have any recommendations from the student's perspective? What could the Center for Entrepreneurship, what could the university be doing more to help your education, to help you build your future?
So the story of how I met JJ and how I came to know about the Center for Entrepreneurship was it's kind of funny, right? So I seen I don't know if it was on my phone or something, but I seen a QR code that led me to the entrepreneur workshop that JJ was doing at the NOCCD at in Anaheim.
Mm-hmm.
So I go to a workshop with him, and it was like a 3-day freaking 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. workshop, intense workshop, day after day, right? Where he said he was a professor at the university or whatnot. And I found the workshop amazing. It was just like nonstop, just it was focused, I stayed on track, and it was a bunch of different people from the community. I learned so much from it. Then at that time I was at the community college. Then I transferred to the university, and I actually got to start taking the classes over there for entrepreneurship. And obviously I ended up becoming friends with JJ as well. And I ended up I picked up one of the mentors that I have, Bob. I got him from the Center for Entrepreneurship over here, right? So I think that environment that he did there should be done more over here, and there should be more awareness of it. Like, if I was part of the fraternity at the time, I would have recruited those people to say, hey, let's go. Look, this is what we're doing here. This is what's going on here, you know? And I think that's what it is. You have to have and you have to make it fun. JJ did find a way to make it fun, you know? He had everybody get involved. He had everybody do my biggest fear when I got out of prison was talking to anybody. I was like, holy crap, I have to speak, you know? So, And just to pivot real quick, right? My first day at the community college, I go to my math class and I'm like, I'm just gonna be quiet. I'm not gonna talk to nobody. I'm gonna do my assignments, right? I go and I sit down and the professor says, today, everybody's gonna talk to everybody. I'm having an anxiety attack. Granted that I've been in prison with people that stab people, myself, I've been involved in incidents, violence, all this other stuff, and I'm having a panic attack and anxiety attack because I have to talk to a pretty lady that's sitting next to me. That was horrible. Okay, but I got through it. It was over. Now moving back forward back
Was it
to
nearly as bad as you thought it was?
I
Well,
look
Jerry. I mean, pretty ladies are very scary.
I listen, I we all have anxiety when it comes to making a good first impression. It doesn't matter who it is, okay? But let's face it, some people make it harder because the desire to be accepted is greater, okay? But you accomplished it is what's important, and you got past it, which is what's important. And now you can share with someone else that it's never as bad as they think it is.
it's not right. So I go to JJ's workshop, right? And the first thing he does as soon as I walk in, he says, "Okay, everybody, oh, you're here. Introduce yourself. Tell us about you." And I'm like, "Oh, well, why not?" So
Right.
it made that part a little bit easier. It was still nerve-wracking, and I'm getting better as time goes along. But it's like you said, it's just do it. It's
Well, I mean, just a second ago, Travis said, okay, tell us about yourself. Today, look at the story you told. Okay. And how easily could you have done that a year ago or 2 years ago? I doubt that you could have in the same way. And you'll get better and better and better at it. And it's a compelling story. And it does create the opportunity for empathy. You don't want sympathy, but empathy is something that is beneficial to everyone. It just means that people have an understanding of where you were coming from and how scary it was to be in that role, and that you wanted more, and that you didn't let that thing scare you out of trying to get more. And so this is the discipline that you lacked that led to your incarceration. And it's this kind of discipline that will prevent you from ever seeing that kind of incarceration again. Okay. You just have to continue to apply yourself. And every day you apply yourself, but you set a new, reasonable, challenging goal. You don't reset to old, you update, you upgrade. And this is how you'll get better and better and better. And you'll get quicker with your time, and it'll take you less time to write something and less time to react to something and less time to do something. And why? Because you've had an opportunity to experience it, and you found out it's not as scary as your whole brain created. Fear always is worse than the actual, okay? But it's there for a reason. It's there to prevent you from walking into something stupid. Like you should, if you're in the middle of a forest and you sense something, you should bet that there's something that you may not consciously recognize that's a danger that's around you or could be. And that will have you look and see that there's a rattlesnake, 40 feet away that you didn't notice, but your mind's eye did. Those instincts will start to kick in if you allow them to. And so, you'll start to have instincts for business opportunities. You'll start to have instincts for BS artists and the people who just fill you with a bunch of lies and a bunch of bullshit. And I say that in the middle of this webinar, recognize that it may be edited out, and I apologize to you for Travis, but the reality is that we have to call out BS once in a while. And we have to let people know that this is real, that the center is real, that the opportunity is real, that the need out there is real, that the students are looking for a real experience. And we as a center need to continue to give people like you the opportunities that we have and even more, so that you can do even more good with your energy and your effort and your wants.
and to follow up with that, Jerry, I do want to say, like, I know that a lot of people probably say thank you for the scholarship or whatnot, right? But to follow up with that with you, it's I get a lot of encouragement, right? So throughout the process, I've gotten a lot of encouragement. It's always, you're doing a great job, keep at it, right? And that it helps a little bit, right? Um, but for you to take it a step further and say, hey, keep at it, keep going, but here's a little help for you down the way, makes a big difference. You know what I mean? It really does. It's like somebody's seeing you running, they're like, oh, keep going, you're almost gonna get the finish line, right? But they're drinking a nice cup of water and they're just like looking at you while you're thirsty running, you know? And you took the time to say, hey, here's a water bottle to help you along the path. Here, stay hydrated, you know? And that means a lot. You know what I mean? You and Vicky and your team as well, you know? I know you shared the way that you shared that they everybody took a role in it, and I appreciate that a lot, you know? That you guys didn't
Well,
just say,
without the business success, we wouldn't have the money to donate. That's just the truth. And it is a group effort, and I remind them of that. And you know, it might be that the owner made the decision to put the money there, but if the money wasn't created, there would be nothing to budget or to set aside for that purpose. And so I do want them to have ownership in this. I do want them to be compelled by your story. I do want them to recognize that they do more than just service insurance clientele and give risk management advice, because in the end, we're engaged in the success of others. And just like this scholarship is here to engage in your future success. And what we want is we just want that story told time and time and time again, because it will motivate the next person. And that's the whole idea.
and I truly appreciate that.
And then maybe 20 years from now, you're the one that's giving the scholarship.
That's the goal. That is the goal.
See? All right.
That's the goal.
Travis, what else you need from us today?
Well,
We
no,
kind of
this
took
is
over.
this is great. No, that means I'm doing a great job as the interviewer when you guys are talking. That is perfect. So congratulations to me. I guess the last question I would have for you both, because I know that we're getting close to running out of time here. And it's the last question I normally ask is if you could go back in time to yourself when you're younger, or maybe to a current student, you know, who's just getting started. Maybe they're just graduating from high school and they're considering what path to take. What advice would you give to them or to yourself as a younger person? Ricky, we could start with you.
Well, if I could go back in time, as tempting as it is, I would have to leave that part of my life the way it was, because if it wasn't because of those hardships, I wouldn't become the person I became today. But my advice would be not to be afraid to ask for help, which ironically is something I still struggle with to this day. Instead of asking for help, I usually just try to figure out things on my own, and I usually do figure it out. It just takes me so much more time than necessary. When it's like, you know what, just ask. If you don't know something, just ask. Don't be afraid. No.
Jerry,
Jerry?
same question to you.
You know, if I can make the path a little bit shorter, a little bit straighter, if I can help them get to the end faster, then I feel like I've accomplished something. And whether I'm lighting the path or whether I am the path, or whether I'm the rope and you are trying to climb up a hill that you're not going to do without some help, whatever analogy you want to make for our involvement, you know, we continue to be involved because we see many, many, many great stories like Ricky's being told. And, you know, not everybody has to come from adversity to seek this opportunity. Some come from much privilege. But what happens with privilege is that you tend to get people look past your abilities. They think that they're the ones with all the abilities and that they have empowered you. Well, they're not empowering you if you can't do things of your own effort. So entrepreneurship is the opposite of what usual experience at college is about. The usual experience at college is to teach you how to be a good citizen and a good employee.
Yeah, I think that maybe you're giving the normal college experience a little too much credit. I think it's mostly about being a good employee, to be honest.
So if it's about becoming a good employee, okay, well, what about those that are inspired to be something of more, that they want to solve a problem and they want to be the ones that earn the success that comes from that? Well, that's where entrepreneurship sets people aside, and it gives them a chance to see things through the lens of currently working enterprises that are struggling with certain circumstances, whether it is a financial controls issue or a marketing sales issue or an operational issue or a human capital issue. Entrepreneurship teaches through its textbooks and its classes, but importantly through its partnership with local area businesses, what it looks like to come into something and help evolve it from where it is to something different. And entrepreneurship is all about thinking outside the box. What has got them in that box is not thinking the way an entrepreneur thinks. Many people find themselves in C-suite roles for the first time, and they don't know what it's like to be strategic. They've always been tactical. They've always been focused on a budget that somebody else put together, a plan that somebody else put together, a quota that somebody else set for them. And now they're suddenly in a place where they have to set the expectations, and they aim far too low. And so, I think that you've got some great books that you've read, but I think that there's a lot more out there that you need to read. You need to read Michael Gerber and the E-Myth. It's a 250-page, 2-hour read, but I will tell you it's game-changing, life-changing, and it's old, and yet it's still relevant because it helps you understand how to take yourself out of the employed side of thinking and put you into the self-employed side of thinking and what that differential is. So I do recommend that that book. There's 100 books that I could recommend to you, okay? But the point is that what you need to do is learn how to research the right author for subject matters. And so put into your research effort, outcomes that you're looking to accomplish, and then find authors who focus on those that have been proven to be relevant by industry acceptance and acknowledgement. Those are the people that you're looking for to help lead you to the next level. And then turn around and look at the peers that you've got in your classes and the professors that you've got helping you accomplish, and the instructors, because they're there to empower you. And you've got the right attitude towards all the education. So I think that you've got a lot going for yourself right now. If I could bring this back around to it being about Ricky, but at the same time, acknowledging that those are the things that I'd go back and do today differently than I did the first time. When I went to Cal State Fullerton, I never finished. I went right into owning an insurance agency, and from there, I finally got a degree through correspondence school because I couldn't stand the fact that I didn't have a degree. I'm married to a physician, so I had somebody with 3 degrees, and I was like, I didn't have any. And all her friends all had doctor in front of their name, and they were all big shots, and yet I was actually earning a better income than all of them. And so I decided for myself that I needed that degree. I decided for myself that I wanted to learn more about finance than I understood. And now I feel like I could write a book about how to take finance and risk management and marry them into the thing that we do that is a game changer and a disruptor. And if you're going to be successful in business, think about disruption and what you could do about disrupting the competition, because the competition's already there and they're already bigger than you. So the only way that you're going to be able to compete with them is to disrupt. Otherwise, you're just getting leftovers. And many people can live off of leftovers, but they're working really, really hard for what's left over. I like creating my own space, and I think that entrepreneurship can really help you do that. And my goal is to see entrepreneurship bring back that level of internal focus so that we are actually putting out the best entrepreneurs we can, and that the focus is not just on grant receiving and other things, because I understand the need for funds, but as an organization, we also have to make sure that we are appealing to the student of the future that wants to be here to learn what Ricky's learning. Without them, we serve zero purpose. And so I'd like to see that be a focus for the next year or two. And I'm excited about the future as we start to evolve there.
Well, I will leave it at that. Can't really improve on that. And Ricky, I think you're going to be one of those people who are successful in entrepreneurship, who go on and, hopefully, like Jerry said, in 20 years, you'll be sitting where Jerry is right now, supporting a scholarship, supporting others as they go down their path and help them become entrepreneurs as well. So,
Ricky, I want to say this. You have a clear vision. And the clearer you make it, the more you visualize it, the more you place yourself in where you want to be, even before you've actually qualified to be there, the more you do that, the quicker you're going to get there and the more impact you're going to have. So don't let anything hold you back. Now is the time to think outside the box. Now's the time to find even more people that can be mentors to you. Keep doing that and don't stop, because when you've been out of school for 5 years, you're just going to be in business for 5 years. Okay? And you're still a fledgling. And there's still mentors that you need. And just think about that thing I said earlier about the three-legged stool in advice giving. Business have attorneys, they have CPAs, but not very many of them have risk managers at the strategic level. That's our differentiator. Go figure out what yours is going to be and leverage it. And you'll do nothing but make us proud.
Thank you, Jerry.
Go Titans.
all right,
Yes,
thank you
sir.
both.